G'day guys, Mackie with the Outer Circle, and today I've been musing. I was chatting to a friend of mine. He was talking about how Horus Heresy for Forge World, they've just lost so many sales lately over the last year or so. It's just dramatically dived off. And I sort of was musing on this, and there's a few different things that have come to my mind, and I thought, you know what, I need to put this into a video. Because, you know, the best videos are the ones you come up with on the spot. I need to put it into a video, lay out the reasons why, just dot point them, and then explain the solutions to fixing it, in my opinion. Now, it doesn't mean I'm right, but I figure if I do it this way, people can at least counter my points, say their own opinion, that kind of thing. So, let's give it a shot. The first thing that's happened to mess with Games Workshop sales, I would say, is the fact that they released the Kelth and Prospero boxes at Games Workshop. Essentially, Games Workshop has taken over the production of infantry from Forge World. This is part of the problem. To be fair, the cost of infantry being sold at Forge World is probably part of what led to the rise in China taking sales away. And I'll go more into this in point 2. Point 2. Massive costs for kits, which are now suffering hard competition from China, which is thanks to comparable quality and faster shipping. Most people start out buying legitimate Games Workshop and Forge World miniatures, but as costs spiral, they're pretty much left with two options. They either slowly build up their army over a very long period of time, or the instant gratification via recasters, which sell the exact same quality product for much cheaper. And believe me, I have seen some phenomenal recasts bought for a fraction of the price. I myself do not do recasting as a rule, but I have a lot of friends of mine who do. Make of that what you will. And I've seen the quality of the kits. I cannot say that the quality is lacking. Whilst the game is incredibly popular and played by many people, the simple fact remains the cost is prohibitive, and people often just have one army at any time in the Heresy. This may be very loved and very cherished, but it's difficult for people to start again from scratch due to the cost. Point 3. A real lack of drive to finish books and get them out the door. People don't want to wait more than, say, 8 months, off the top of my head, for the next Black Book. We need constant hype. This is what 40k does very well. And don't get me wrong, Forge World has obstacles in their way. Alan's passing is hurt, but Forge World needs to know that fucking people around is a surefire way to get decline in sales. Yes, they're losing staff to look after other games and such, and that's a huge factor. But this is a company internal problem which is having external consequences for the fans. The fourth problem. The Games Workshop release cycle is so extreme that it drowns out Forge World. When people see a system getting constant releases, constant books, constant support, they're naturally going to gravitate that way. This has nothing to do with the quality of the system, it's sheerly the quantity available. Point 5. The releases are tailored away from what people want to see, further leading to lackluster sales. When there are basic armors and units that still don't exist, as well as Legion-specific units, characters, etc., then you're not going to win any friends by releasing Rhino doors. Point 6. The quality of the releases has been slightly off of late. The Space Wolves Praetor and Varagia Terminators, which have their own video on this channel, are of such reduced quality compared to the standard work of Forge World, especially compared to their work on the Thousand Suns. It's laughable, and it is problematic. And point 7. Rules, rules, rules. No, not 8th edition rules, I'm talking about source books with poor content. Book 7 was comparatively a disaster compared to previous entries. This in itself isn't too bad, but when you have such negligence in rules writing, rules balancing, you need to be able to produce FAQs, and when you can't produce an FAQ for up to years at a time, what faith will customers have in you? Why will they want to buy a poorly supported product? So, Those, in my mind, are the problems that Forge World has, and this isn't necessarily all about the Heresy. This could be applied to other parts of their product line. The thing is though, what are the solutions? Well, number one, the biggest point, something I've stressed for a long time, you've got to sell the kits for cheaper. People have proven time and again that if they have cheap access to something, they will pay for the convenience. Movie and TV piracy has massively decreased thanks to streaming services. Music piracy has decreased to such a point that it's almost never talked about anymore. Not only this, making kits cheaper will never eliminate piracy, but it will sure as shit reduce piracy. And most importantly, it will create a stronger relationship between the company and the hobbyists. This is not to be underestimated. Brand loyalty is huge. I mean, look at the people who are suckered in by the Apple logo on products. If the fans think you have their best interests at heart, they're more likely to buy from you out of goodwill. And this is something that is lacking at the moment with Games Workshop and Forge World. They've been improving on it, but it is still lacking. The next solution. You have to keep a consistent quality across all of the range. The Space Wolves are a commercial disaster currently. Myself and Tim from the Eye of Horror spent ages scrolling through Instagram looking for the sold out Space Wolves Praetor. And you know what? We couldn't find a single one, not painted or unpainted. Nobody's showing it off. And I think it's telling when you literally can't find a new release at all on social media. Literally any other character is, the minute they come out, you can find pictures of them, the first page, second page, third page of a search. Every time. This Space Wolves Praetor apparently sold out, nowhere to be seen. And it was Tim that put me onto this. I had to go and look for myself in the end. Now, the third solution, and this is a really important one. Forge World, you need to stop diverting resources towards other shit. Get a dedicated team together to tackle the fucking project at hand. This is business 101, even for small companies. A lack of direction can be terrible, and every time someone has to step into a new project, you're wasting time because they need to adjust to the new role. Put a team together and get them to focus on releasing content for that system. Stop making people put down what they're doing to go and make more kits for another faction. Get things done. Fourth, not only do you need to release content, but it has to be in a timely fashion. Horus Heresy Black Books 2 and 3 were just 6 months apart, but since then the timeline has only crept out. Looking at the upcoming Weekender, it's quite possible that after almost a year, we may be about to find out that the Angelus book is delayed and that yet another filler book will be replacing it as Book 8. This could also be a potential name change, don't get me wrong, but if it is being replaced by a filler book, this is huge when it comes to pissing off the fans. Dark Angels, White Scars and Blood Angels players are still waiting for their full rules, kits and other units for the Heresy. Further delaying it is frankly driving people away because they're plain sick and tired of waiting for what is really a basic request. Fifth point, you need to focus on sculpting your kits. For too long, Forge World has released these big, fancy, beautiful books, full of characters and units and lore, and yet they don't release the kits for them. At this point, it's criminal, and characters from books released 4 years ago in the Heresy aren't released. Would you like some examples? Exodus, Alpharius, Keovalin, Erasmus Gold, Rogel Dawn, Saul Tarvitz, Flamemaster Mordrum, Lahan Sai, Huron Ophion, Castrum and Orth, Shadrach Medusan, Ortek Moore, Shabran Dar, Karlan Serlak, Remus Ventanus, Cyros Morturg, Durak Rask, Tybalt Mar, Hol Baloth, Nomus Raitan, Zyphurus, Zephus Jur, Kitus Nex, Elvrax Morn, etc., etc. If this sounds like a lot of characters, that's because it fucking is. Now don't misunderstand me, I do not expect them to make all of these. That would be asking way too much. I know that. But for many factions, they don't have a single character sculpt. The Ultramarines, Raven Guard, Space Wolves, Salamanders, Iron Hands, all lack their characters. The Iron Warriors' only character is a Forge World exclusive model called Narek Draegur. So you could pretty much say that they don't have one as well. That means a full third of everything released doesn't have characters. Hell, the Imperial Fists and Elf Legion lack their fucking Primarchs, and they've had full-blown rules for their legions since before 7th edition 40k. This doesn't even take into account the missing specialist units for each legion, let alone all the other factions in 30k missing kits. Everything seems to have just been dropped at Forge World to focus on the most controversial force in 30k, the Custodes. This is bad news. You're simply telling people it's okay because you can make your own characters. And that's not good enough. That's what we pay you to do. We pay Forge World to make the characters. We will happily make our own anyway, for our HQs and our player-made characters, but for the named ones, we come to you for that. We often will make our own characters and will use other factions' characters as a basis. Look how many Alexis Pollux conversions are out there. Eidolon conversions, Sigismund conversions, Khan the Betrayer conversions. These are great miniatures, and there's some kind of thought that they won't sell many of them because, only World Eaters are going to buy Khan models. Did you ever think that maybe people would buy the model to use as a Praetor in a completely different legion? How many people are using the Iron Hands Praetor or Forge Lord in Iron Warriors armies? Huge amounts of people. To be honest, this has led to some of the best work in the Heresy I've seen. People converting up these characters at home, but I guess that's beside the point of the video. Sixth and last point I want to cover off here. Please, Forge World, when you edit a book, do not do what you did with fucking Book 7. Do not name Wargear different things in the unit entry and in the Wargear description call it something else, as you did with the Aether Fire, or is it Aether Flame cannon? Minor thing, but it is a problem when you pay well over 100 Australian for a book. Also, don't forget Wargear completely and then go ahead and give it to all the miniatures in a range, as you did with the Adeptus Custodes and the Misericordia. Also, do not add these -1 and -2 to hit penalties to Primarchs. They're probably tough enough without you making them impossible to hit, and in Magnus's case, especially with invisibility, I mean this quite literally. At least that one's since been fixed by the 7th edition rulebook. Also, some basic balance would be nice. Custodes HQs being stronger and harder to kill than Primarchs for half the cost in points, I think some warning alarm should have sounded in Nottingham over that one. Anyway, this is my thoughts. Not perfect. Things like lowering the prices may not be achievable. Games Workshop likes to cry poor over how much it costs them to do business. For all I know, it does actually cost them that much. Because, let's face it, they're notoriously tight with what their actual margins are on the products they sell, what their actual overheads are. It's all guesswork from us. But when we look at a product and then we look at something coming out of China and it's equally good, that raises questions in the community. Doesn't mean that they can drop prices, but it is just a suggestion of mine because, again, player goodwill goes a long way in this hobby. If people like you, they like your product, they think you have their best interests at heart, they're going to come back to you time and again. Look how loyal the people who collect Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit are to Forge World and Games Workshop. These are people who are so happy just to be getting something that they don't care if it's shit or good. They're just happy to be getting it because they're so loyal to you. You're the only company that's filling their fix that they need. And you can do that for the Heresy. You can do that for 40k. If you do it right, that is. Anyway, I'm Mac with the Outer Circle. Please, thoughts and feedback in the comments below. As always, I want to hear it. I could be wrong. I'll see you all next time.